Some saw him as just a man in a uniform, standing still, eyes fixed straight ahead, barely breathing. But he was more than that. He was a royal guard, bound by an oath, forged in honor, and carrying discipline in his very bloodstream. For him, duty wasn't just responsibility. It was identity. It was early morning in London, the final hour before the ceremonial changing of the guard. The streets were already humming with tourists, their cameras clicking, eyes wide with awe. But in front of Buckingham Palace, amid all the chaos and noise, he stood like a statue. Rifle on his shoulder, feet perfectly planted. Not a single twitch betrayed him. His presence was absolute. And then something shifted. From the edge of the crowd, a ripple of unease passed through the tourists. Conversations dropped into whispers. A small commotion had started. People parted like water around a rock, making way for a group of tourists pushing their way through. One of them stood out immediately. She wore designer sunglasses, a blinding white coat that screamed money, and heels that clicked like gunshots on the pavement. Her voice was loud, cutting through the soft murmur of the crowd with a confidence born not of grace, but of entitlement. Beside her walked a Pitbull, untethered, unleashed, and radiating tension. His body was muscular, his stance dominant. This wasn't a pet, it was a statement, and it was clear who he took his cues from. The woman walked straight up to the royal guard, disregarding the yellow line, ignoring the signs, and sidestepping the murmurs of protest from nearby tourists. The Pitbull padded closely behind, alert and already beginning to posture. Security guards in the background tensed. They observed but didn't intervene. This was delicate territory. The royal guards were trained to handle situations with composure. But every now and then, someone would come along to test that limit. She was that someone. The woman smirked. She tilted her sunglasses down, revealing eyes that sparkled with mischief and mockery. "Oh, come on," she said loudly, addressing the soldier. "Are you really this serious? You're like a wind-up doll. Don't even blink, do you?" The crowd shifted, sensing things were escalating. A few pulled out phones. Some turned away, uncomfortable. The Pitbull took a step closer. His ears flicked forward, tail stiff, muscles bunched like coiled springs. Still, the guard did not move. His gaze remained locked ahead, unshaken. The woman laughed, her voice echoing. "What? Nothing to say? Are you even allowed to talk?" And then she did something that made everyone draw in a breath. She gave the dog a soft command. "Go on, let's see if he really doesn't flinch." The Pitbull lunged forward, not to bite, but with enough force to provoke. He stopped just short of the guard's polished boots. A low growl rumbled from his throat. The tension snapped across the air like a wire pulled too tight. The crowd gasped. "That's not okay," someone shouted. A mother pulled her child closer. A man whispered, "She's gone too far." The woman turned to the crowd and grinned. "Relax, he's trained. This is just a little test of British discipline." She looked into one of the phone cameras pointed at her and said, "Let's see just how stupid this tradition really is." The Pitbull was now practically nose to nose with the guard's rifle. His growl deepened. And then, it happened. The guard moved. But he didn't shout. He didn't lift his rifle. He didn't shove the dog back. Instead, he gently bent down on one knee. Slowly, deliberately. His gaze left the horizon and settled directly into the eyes of the animal in front of him, and the world seemed to stop. There was a silence that followed, a thick, expectant pause that rolled through the crowd like a fog. Even the cameras lowered. The royal guard, in a calm, steady voice that seemed to come from a place beyond anger, spoke to the dog. "You're not a weapon," he said. "You're just a creature shaped by someone else's fear." The Pitbull froze. The growl faded to a faint rumble. The tension in his stance began to melt. He tilted his head slightly, confused. The woman scoffed. "Are you seriously talking to my dog?" The guard didn't look at her. "You weren't born angry," he continued. "But you've only been taught to obey fear. That's not your fault." The pit bull blinked, and then, to everyone's shock, he sat. The woman's mouth fell open. "What the hell? He never—" She stepped forward and snapped her fingers. "Atlas, come." The dog stayed still. The guard rose to his feet, eyes now on the woman. His voice remained soft but firm, unshakable. "You gave him orders, but never gave him love. You taught him to guard your ego, not your heart." The woman's face twisted into disbelief, then anger, then uncertainty. She looked at the dog as if seeing him for the first time. The guard took one step forward, not threatening, but powerful, controlled. "You see, discipline isn't about silence," he said. "It's about strength with compassion." And he just felt what that actually means. The dog let out a quiet huff and lay down beside the guard, calm, obedient, but not to her, to something deeper, to trust. The woman's voice cracked. "What did you do to him?" "I showed him respect," the guard replied. Maybe for the first time in his life, for the first time since her entrance, she was speechless. There were no more smirks, no more laughter. The pit bull, once a reflection of her own arrogance, now mirrored something else entirely. Peace. The crowd erupted into applause, but it wasn't the sound of a spectacle. It wasn't for entertainment. It was the sound of understanding, of reverence, of witnessing something that words couldn't quite capture. One man in the crowd said softly, "That wasn't just a soldier. That was a teacher." Another murmured, "That dog just had his first lesson in kindness." The woman took a step back. Her phone lowered. Her gaze faltered. For a moment, she seemed like she might say something, but didn't. Her eyes shimmered, not with tears, but with realization. It wasn't pain she felt. It was shame. The security guards approached, ready to intervene. But the guard lifted a gloved hand and shook his head. "Let her go," he said. "Today's not for punishment. It's for reflection." The woman walked away slowly. Her heels sounded less confident now. Her dog, the dog, followed quietly beside her, glancing back once at the guard.